the majority, or rather the big clans, or not clans, what do you call them, tribes, do not want to hear anything to do with inclusivity when it touches on them. But when it comes to other marginalized communities, they want to be able to go there and they want to say, we want inclusivity. We want to be counted like one of you. If you look at their lands and territories, historically, and Eric, I'd like to invite you for a beautiful drive. Very beautiful drive indeed.
Just Eric?
I'll invite my dear sister here too. Because he knows it. I'm not going to invite him because he knows it. You know, if you drive, nowadays to go to Narok, you can take 4 different routes. One, you can go through Kiambu town. And then you'll find a small center, Kiambu in itself, which is highly concentrated. And then when you go just a few kilometers, lavish tea estates, coffee estates, you know, huge chunks of land.
Yep.
You can also take another route, which is banana. When you take through the banana, after village market, you go down this new mall, Ruaka, 7 kilometers. You get into a place called Norbrooks or Banana. And then immediately after that,
You're in Tigoni.
Lavish, you know. You can also take another route, the one for Ruaka, going all the way to Nairobi, through Red Hills. If you go back past there, you will also find a place where a lot of people have now decided to subdivide those huge lands because they no longer have any more space. You know, it is wrong, Eric, for 1% of the population of one ethnic group to own almost 90% of all the land that belong to those people, and then now they traverse into other lands and territories, encroach into them, and say we want inclusivity. This has got to stop.
So what you're saying is
the biggest problem is this. I have got no problem and I've got no beef with anybody coming in to buy land, you know, but you must respect the rule of law.
When you say respect the rule of law, Mheshimiwa, what do you mean?
This is what I mean. When you find somewhere that land is agricultural land, leave it as agricultural land. Do not try and circumvent the rule of law. No one has given you the right to subdivide that land because we want food security. Other developed nations, the reason why we are so behind is that if you look at a country like the US, there is over 94 million acres for just food security. We keep on saying the price of food is very expensive in this country, which it is. But why? It is because agricultural land is no longer agricultural land.
So
it is being subdivided.
Is this an issue of maintaining agricultural land for the purposes of food security, or is this an issue of keeping the land in the hands of marginalized people?
Number one.
Which one is it?
Number one, you keep the land in the hands of the marginalized people because that is originally their land. Number two, and the reason being why I'm saying that is because they have respected land use policy. They know that this land is for grazing. We keep it for grazing. If you come and say, my brother, sell me some piece of land, they automatically assume that you're going to get some cows or you're going to get some sheep and goats, and you might even come with a better breed that when the cows are grazing there, they will mix and they will get even a better, they'll improve on their breed.
Senator, I don't see the problem. I don't see the issue here. Maybe you can make it very clear so that we can understand. Because if I come into Maasai land and I buy land today, right? And if I keep it for agricultural purposes, it's mine. I'm
Absolutely.
Not Maasai, for example. So where's the issue? Is
So
the issue that the land belongs to somebody else who is not Maasai?
No.
Or that they're buying this land and doing something else with it? What's the issue?
I think you just nailed the head. You just hit the nail on the head. They are taking the land and using it for other purposes which were not intended.
So you don't have an issue with anybody coming into Maasai land?
You come and buy land, okay? Because I can also come to your place, maybe, just maybe, and someone will sell me land. But the problem here is that when you come to Maasai land, you'll find that people will buy an acre of land at 17,000 shillings. An acre of land at 50,000 shillings. Maybe some other places which have been now encroached heavily, the acre will go up to maybe a maximum of 1 million shillings, which is part of a Kajiado. Then they will subdivide that 1 acre into 8 plots. The one they bought at 17,000 shillings, they will sell each at 350,000. Then what do? They now start bringing a lot of people there without considering the limited resources which are there, the water, for people downstream. That's issue number one. Electricity, number two. And then number three, services, other government services like roads. Then all of a sudden, that place became a cosmopolitan. But because even the government had not planned for that place to become, one, cosmopolitan, two, become a municipality, those people will always live there without any title deed or ownership of that land. I'll give you a perfect example. In Eldoret, a few years ago, many years ago actually, the municipality only reached a certain area. Then some few guys who are cleaners, these guys will clean government offices. They will wake up at 5 in the morning. They'll go and clean the government offices, the municipality offices. And then they will leave there. They will go and they'll meet with some people and say, hey, can I clean your office? They'll clean. So they were able to save a lot of money. And they bought over 3,000 acres of land right next to the municipality. This is the famous Lankas. They bought it from the Nandi people. Nandi people were as naive as the Maasai were. You know? So when they bought that land, another group of people bought another 6,000 acres of land. Then over time, they started subdividing this land. Then World Bank came in and said to these guys in Eldoret, wow, we have to give you some money so that you can be able to make these people live in an hygiene situation. We'll give you money so that you can be able to expand this Eldoret municipality. Subdivide these pieces of land, give each one of them ownership documents. That has never been done. It has been hindered by the local politicians because the people who have occupied that land are from the Kikuyu community, or rather the Kikuyu tribe from Kenya. So when I talk about the respecting land use policy, and when I talk about inclusivity, I want it to go both ways.
But
smaller clans, smaller tribes agreeing to,
Senator,
go ahead.
I think you're conflating issues.
No.
Somebody comes and buys a piece of land and then goes ahead and does what they think is best for that piece of land, right? And they operate with a government that is alive and kicking. Now, why are you blaming this person and not even pointing a finger at the local leadership?
Let me tell you something.
Why aren't you bringing the government into this area? In fact, let's even move away from Langas and Eldoret. Let's go back into Kajiado and Narok, right? And say people have come, they've bought a piece of land from a local Maasai person. They negotiated, they agreed, and this is how much land has been bought. Then this person subdivides that piece of land. If they're subdividing that piece of land, where is the local government?
First of all, Eric,
and shouldn't you be going back to the government?
It's not only about government. It behooves you as a person who is coming to buy land to follow the rule of law. It's not only the government.
Are they breaking the rule of law?
Are they breaking a law?
Yes, they are.
Are they breaking a law?
If you come in and you buy a piece of land which is agricultural land, and then you subdivide it into plots, that's already breaking the law, because the law is very clear.
There's no change of user.
There's no change of user. And the change of user includes you asking the neighbor who sold you the land, the community that sold you the land, whether they have any problem of you subdividing land. In fact, there is a caveat emptor which you've got to put out there.
If you have not sought the word or advice from your neighbor, why isn't your neighbor complaining? Why is your neighbor waiting for Ledama Olekina to come and complain?
Because Ledama Olekina is their leader and is elected, and because these people did not know their rights. They do not know their rights because no one took the time to tell them their rights. Number one. Number two, and even if they complain, this is an issue where you go to Narok as an example, and the people who are in the land control board, even the person who gives the consent of land control board is a district commissioner who is not originally from that area.
Would
so
that
he doesn't
change?
give a hoot in hell.
Would that, okay, so I think there are very many issues here that we're looking at. Then, because we're looking at local leadership,
so we're
looking
issue
at
number one,
and then we're looking at the rule of law.
Yes.
And at the same time, then you're looking at marginalized groups. You're looking at three different things at the same time. So if somebody comes in and buys a piece of land, according to you now, they're breaking the law if they then go and subdivide this land, and people were not aware of that.
Absolutely.
And people were not aware of that before.
Yes.
Now, to say now being able at this point, what are you saying then that it would change if this land remained in the hands of the Maasai people? We would not have this kind of subdivision that we are seeing.
You got it right.
So essentially what you're saying is that people should not come into Maasai land and buy land.
They don't need to come.
Is that what you're saying? Nobody else? I mean,
is
that what you're saying? Nobody should come. Nobody should come in from outside Maasai land and buy.
They don't need to come, because when they come and their intention is to come and subdivide that land for plots, then they shouldn't come.
But do you
at all.
think
But
these
They
people
shouldn't come
are
at all.
actually breaking the law willingly?
Yes.
Is it possible
Yes.
that the person who's actually come
Yes.
and bought a piece of land somewhere in Kitengela, or let's even go somewhere into Narok, they've actually come and bought a piece of land and they're looking at what they want to do with that piece of land? The issue of understanding, just the same way as the Maasai is ignorant, is also possible that this Kikuyu or Kalenjin is also as ignorant of the
No,
law.
I think people are getting the whole, or rather, my whole beef wrong. Okay, one of the big problem that I have is that those people who are taking everything that I'm saying and adding their own sugar and spices and saying that this is a tribal warlord are completely mistaken.
Do you see where they would be coming from if they
BBI
said
has
that?
given us an opportunity to come out and air out all our problems. The reason why Raila Amolo Odinga, His Excellency, and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, His Excellency, met is because of all these problems. Okay? So if people are not willing to handle the truth, for me to come out and say this is our problem and this is how we must fix it, then they don't live in the 21st century.
So you're talking about other tribes, but it's
You
not
know?
tribal.
Say that again?
You're talking about other tribes, but it's not a tribal
No,
issue.
it is not tribal. The only person who will think it's tribal is a person who is still sort of like in that tribalism bubble. It is about the rights. It is about getting tired of slums. One day, Eric, we'll go to Wilson Airport and hire a chopper and go around this Nairobi city.
Yep.
You will cry with the way other people in Kenya live. They live like they're children of a lesser God, just because we cannot plant for them. Okay,
Because the
the
government
slums,
has
because the
failed.
government cannot. So BBI is giving us an opportunity now to discuss all these issues and to correct them.
And you're saying that they are breaking the law.
Yes, sir. Yes,
But also you're imputing improper motive on them and saying that, the way you're speaking is as if those people were coming here with a direct intention of breaking the law so that they can, disenfranchise the local people.
That's exactly what is happening. It's an issue of gerrymandering.
But
I mean, we are politicians. We talk about warning our people. You know what is a bit hypocritical? And I want to be very, very clear is that those people who are still in their tribal cocoon or rather bubble, keep pointing fingers at me. They're saying, oh, this guy is attacking our people. If really we are talking about, and we are honest that Kenya is one Kenya, one people, one nation, why should the governor of Kericho go out and hold a press conference and say, this guy is a tribal warlord, is fighting our people? Yet, there's another county between Narok and Kericho. There's Bomet County, which is there. Why can they then say, we leave it to the people of Narok, if they really believe that we included in one pot, all of us as one tribe? Okay? You see, the problem, Eric, Muga, and my dear sister, is that people here feel so bad when someone comes and say the truth. The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, and I told William Ruto yesterday that, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside. Because if you're saying to the Kikuyu nation, which in fact everything that he was uttering yesterday, one, it was insubordination. Number two, it was lying and blindfolding these Kikuyu people, because if you really care about them, you are the deputy president. First of all, go make sure they have their title deeds in Eldoret. That's number one. Number two, then you can be cleaning the inside of that mug and say we are now one nation, one people. That's issue number one. Number two, you cannot then come out and say we are going to stop this reggae. Yet, your boss is the one who started that reggae.
So would you accept exertions?
Because the reggae has been overtaken. The reggae has just been hijacked.
It hasn't. You
There are
guys,
riffraffs who
you
are now
guys
in this
cannot
dance.
handle the truth.
Okay.
This is an opportunity for us to be able to air all
Senator.
our grievances.
Senator, then would you accept assertions that say then you are tribal as well?
You know what? Absolutely. Because we are all tribal. You see, I'm willing to accept that in this nation, we are a nation which is made up of 44 ethnic groups.
So you then come
So I
in-
identify myself first
you identify
as a
yourself-
Maasai.
Absolutely. So now when it's come and it's shown itself in the negative light in which it has taken over this time, would you then, those who say that your assertions are incendiary, what would you say about that?
I would tell them that they are hiding behind their own tribal cocoons, and soon they'll come out. And they are soon slowly coming out.
And you
Muga.
don't see...
I'm listening.
No.
I'm listening to what you're saying, Senator.
Yes.
And what I hear you talking about in everything that you've said, you're talking about the need for affirmative action.
That's number one. That's issue number one. Eric, Muga, I'm very happy that you say that, because this is not the first time. The issues that I'm raising here, I am not the first person to raise these issues. These issues have been raised for the Aboriginal people. That's number one. These issues have been raised for the Native Americans, the people who are referred to as
for the Maoris,
red Indians.
Yes.
You know, for the Maoris. The United Nations recognizes the Maasai as indigenous people. Okay, they are the original landowners of this country called Kenya.
What you call a native community.
A native community. So why is it difficult for people to accept the truth?
Actually, the reason is this. I would have argued that if you're talking about affirmative action, what I'm calling affirmative action, what you agree with me is affirmative action, the fight would be to ensure that there's adequate legislation that protects the rights. And the thing about affirmative action, it's actually positive discrimination. That's what it does, because it's actually discriminatory, but in favor of a community, meaning it has to look after the interests of these people, irrespective of everything else that happens.
Thank you. You know, in fact, what you just said is like what I say, potato. You said exactly what I'm fighting for. Because if you go to the to Baringo, you'll find a small group of Maasai called El Chamus. Okay?
Yes, we were talking about them just before you came.
El Chamus are people who have even gone to court, talked about the discrimination, fought for affirmative action, and this government has refused to grant them what the court of law has granted them.
Why?
You know, impunity, that's number one. That's the only reason why I can say that. And because the big ethnic groups do not want to hear anything about inclusivity when it touches them. But when it does not touch them, when it is inclusivity for the smaller group to accept the bigger group, then it's like everybody is saying, let's do this, let's do this. Let me put it this way. BBI is actually one of the best things that could ever happen to this country. Because one way or the other, and you know, earlier on I was a little bit against the whole proposal, the way it had been brought in. But now, when it was taken to the people, through the political movement, because, you know, politicians are the ones who can be able to put together a group, a big, you know,
up emotions.
They can not even whip up emotions. No. You know, they are the ones who can tell the truth. You
Actually,
know?
politicians are not really known for telling the truth, but that's not the discussion.
Okay, that's not the discussion. Let's go about this. You know,
Yes.
they are the ones who can be able to have big masses and communicate and convey a message to them.
Yes.
Just like it has been evident. You know, if you look at what happened in Narok, in fact, you guys have got to congratulate us for organizing such an amazing, beautiful, you know, BBI rally. I mean, compared to all the other rallies, Narok is number one. But that's not the issue here. The issue is this. One, BBI, I'm saying, is the best thing that can happen to this country.
Yes.
Because then we can agree to disagree. Or we can agree to disagree. Because when Ledama Olekina comes out and say, I would like Maasai land, if Muga comes to Narok and buy a piece of land, first of all, do two things. One, in the documentation, it must be written original Maasai land, because we've got to protect the interest of that land, whatever is remaining. That's issue number one. Number two, Muga follows the due process of the law. You know, have a big baraza, say, gentlemen, I'd like to change the land use policy here. I'd like to subdivide and gerrymander. Exactly, that's what you're going to be doing, bringing a big population. And then they'll say no. And then, at my own proposition, is that I would actually say, Muga, come, do your business, but leave the politics to the people. Leave the local politics to the people. Let the people try to find a way to organize themselves. There's nothing tribalism about that.
So basically what you're saying is you are welcome to stay here, but
Absolutely. Do your business.
You will never be a part of us.
Don't be. You know, when Trump says that, when Trump says that, let me tell you, when Trump says things, people think he's a mad guy.
How can you say
But,
that?
you know,
How can you
you
say
know-
that? But out of the other side of your mouth, Senator,
want
you're saying
inclusivity.
that BBI is the best thing that could happen for this country on issues of cohesion. How can
You know
say
what?
those
You know
two
what?
things
You know what
and
Eric just said.
inclusivity?
You know what Eric just said. Eric caught me in the moment and
Yes.
said that he basically what you're saying is that you're welcome to come here and do business, but not be part of us. No. You're welcome to come do business, be part of us, but leave the politics to us. respect the politics to us.
How can I
So
be
there's
part of
only
you?
So long
so
as-
much that I
no.
can be part of you then.
So long
No,
as
you
so
see-
long as you don't legislate this, you know something, we'll continue with this battle of words. Let me give an example of what you call the Indian nation within America.
Yes.
The laws that govern what they call the reservation, believe me, they are laws that supersede whatever law the nation of the US
Thank you.
actually has.
Thank you.
Meaning, when you are within those so-called reservations, there are laws that pertain there.
Yes.
And only there.
Yes.
Now, all I'm saying is, should this not be then the fight? Meaning, since this is our peculiar problem, and Maasai are not the only minority. Minorities will include, for instance, the Hindu, who religiously are a minority, okay? It will include the Swami Bapas. It will include the
Baha'i.
The Baha'i. It will include people who believe in ancestral gods. Anything that touches on the so-called minority will have their rights protected, and it will be by law. So that the very things that Mheshimiwa was talking about here, if you go to Narok, you know, when you are in Narok, these are the laws by which you abide.
Absolutely.
So it isn't a fighting match between someone saying, it's just
But
when you're
then
here.
all the areas of this country will just become reserves.
No. Can I tell you something, Eric?
Yeah.
In fact, thank you for actually demystifying it. One of the laws or one of the propositions that we have is that when you come to Narok and you buy land next to the Masai Mara, you're buying that land knowing that if it is right next to the park, that is a wildlife corridor. If it is adjacent to the park, or rather slowly, further from the corridor, that is land which is reserved for private conservancies. You can still make money.
Yep.
We do not allow you to come and build, big white mabatis or even fence the area with electric fence, because then you affect the way those animals live. So the laws there are very, very clear, and they should be abided by everyone. And in fact, you'd be surprised. A lot of people who have bought land next to the park are politicians. Some of them who are not saying anything right now. And because they buy that land, they are wanting to go and put a small tented camp, lodge, or something like that. They know that you can make money, but they complain that there are too many white, iron sheets here. Too many. In fact, the animals are running away, which is true. In some cases, animals run away. In fact, the other time, if it wasn't for the Tanzanian government, banning a lot of the grass in Serengeti, we would not have had so many wildlife migration coming in. Because when they migrate, they don't stay in one place. They keep going and going, and they go all the way to the private conservancies. So all I'm saying is this: let us recognize the fact that these people have been traumatized for way too long. Look at the Maasais. In fact, if you go, which is actually very sad, we've got a huge piece of land which has been in dispute for many years. It's about 75,000 acres.
So what, Kedong?
Kedong. 75,000 acres. In that 75,000 acres, there were about 1.5 million sheep. There were about 800 to 1 million cows grazing in that. That is the economy of the Maasai. Economy of the Maasai. In fact, the Maasais were so organized such that they would leave certain areas for a rainy day. But then, guess what has happened? When that land was taken back from the colonial masters, it went into private individuals without knowing. And the colonial masters say, let it go back to the people. Now what is happening? The entire, what do you call it? The
SGR.
dry SGR, the dry pot is being put up there. And then the worst thing that could ever happen to the Maasais. There's a big trench and a fence being put there. So what is happening? Some of the cows which are trying to go in for the green grass are breaking their legs. Others, they are being hit by cars because they are now not even inside, because the other part they have been kicked out of that place.
Yeah,
they are now right on the roadside.
All the issues
That
you're
is
raising,
serious poverty for the Maasai nation.
all the issues you're raising, they have merit. The issue, however, is when you bring that merit and then you mix it and juxtapose it with the issue of saying these other tribes are the ones that are coming to do this against the Maasai.
But it is true.
Probably
Eric.
that's where
It
the
is-
issue
but
comes
it
in.
is true.
That
Eric.
you now start becoming a tribal person instead of advocating for the rights of your people. You're basically saying you're fighting all the other tribes.
I'm doing both. I am not fighting the other tribes. Eric, I'm not. If you listen to me, and Kenyans need to listen to me. If today you go to Eldoret, was it last year or the year before? I think it was the year before. these people who are saying they are not tribal, these people who are pointing all the fingers to me and saying Olekina is a tribal warlord, they are up in arms fighting for one of theirs to become the vice chancellor of Eldoret University. That is number one.
It was the first time that had happened.
Okay? It was, no, but then number two, Muga, I've just told you this. These people will never treat the same people, the people, other tribes, the Kikuyus, the Luos, the Luyas, who live in Eldoret like them, and Kisses like them. Like right now, the hawkers in Eldoret are treated like people of, I don't know, they are treated like homeless, of a lesser god. They are not being allowed. So listen, my challenge to William Ruto is this. Don't say you can stop reggae because you ain't not going to stop reggae. Okay? No way. There's no way you can't. The beat will continue. In fact, if you got a little problem with it, you know, you need to listen to a little Bob Marley and say everything is going to be all right. That's what you need to do.
Ledama Olekina now bring in the twang, all right? Before we pick, let's just pick one phone call, and then I know you have a question that you'd like to ask. This is Karaoke in Nakuru. Good morning, Karaoke.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're fine.
We are fine, Karaoke. How is Wakulima Market?
It is okay, but the complaint is very big.
Why is your voice so low this morning?
At least a fever, a little bit fever, you know.
Oh,
I've been cold for a time now.
Yes.
My question is to Olekina.
Yes.
I remember the same issue is raising that other time when I remember the former late minister was still alive. Remember the 1990s?
Which minister?
When
William Olentimama.
Ole Timama.
Yep.
I remember the same issue was raised in the early 1990s. And it's truly you are a witness to me. After that kind of a raising of the issue of land in Narok, especially when he was the kingpin. I remember what followed there after is that the influx of especially the Kikuyus living in the Narok area, right? Can you remember that?
Yes.
Sir, please, my question to Olekina right now, what I'm raising, is that I don't think he was very happy after maybe being a witness to an influx of the Kikuyus living in those areas. And I remember nobody in this country was happy about it, if I can recall.
Karaoke, you have a question, you know? What's the question, Karaoke?
You mean
My
influx
question is the issue of land. Anybody has a right to buy land anywhere in this country. And if you buy land, I think it is better for you to be given a right to do whatever you want to do with it. If you go to Central Province today, and you find somebody who maybe the Maasai are referring to as alien because he's not a Maasai in their area. If you come to Kikuyu land, that person is refers to an owner of that land. Whether it's a Kalenjin, whether it's a Luya or a Luo, he is refers to as a person of that area, and he has a right to be there.
Thank you, Karaoke.
Thank you.
Eric, I love what this guy just said. Kikuyu land. You know? So what is wrong with us saying Maasai land? You know,
There's
people
nothing
out
wrong
on
with
the
that.
ground, let me tell you, I just don't agree that when you buy land, you're free to do what you want to do. If you buy land in Karen, let me tell you, and you say you want to put apartments, you are not going to put apartments.
There are restrictions.
Okay, there are restrictions. Okay? And, you know, one of your promos says Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice. I love that. You know? You can be Kikuyu by birth.
And Maasai by choice.
Maasai by choice. But I'm not seeing the Kenyan by choice running for political office. Anyway, that was enlightened. But in this case, but in this case, I think it boils down to the issue of discipline. And I'd like to invite some of our local leaders, and I mean Kenyan leaders, to go on benchmarking, not anywhere far, but to go just here, Rwanda, right here, to see how Kagame has been able to instill discipline to the people of Rwanda. Land use policies. In fact, people live in small areas so that government can be able to give them services. Right now, the Ministry of Health policy discriminates our people. Okay? Because it says for them to be able to be given a health center, there must be 5,000 people in one area. 5,000 people. For them to be able to be given a dispensary, there must be 10,000 people.
It's discriminatory against pastoralists because
pastoralists
they're moving
you know,
by nature.
we move from one place to another.
Right, yes.
Okay? So in this case, really, So if you come in now and all of a sudden you disrupt our economic activities, yet we are still talking about wanting an economic revolution. You know, there's no way that you can say we want one thing and it is good for us, but we don't want this because it will take money away from us and give it to these other people. We are having serious problems, and this is why I'm telling the government and all politicians, my colleagues, senators, we need to smell the coffee. We need to know that we are mortal beings, that we're in this world for a very short time. Like right now, Eric, let me just make it very clear to you. There are certain things that we do in parliament which are not right, and they are influenced by the executive.
Like?
One, we've got the third generation formula. The constitution is very clear. It says that once every 5 years, the Senate shall determine the formula to be used to divide revenue. We now have a problem with that because of population census. We now have a problem with that because of the majority of government is from one ethnic group, such that if CRA, the Commission of Revenue Allocation, and I would like you to invite them, maybe to explain this thing in deeper, come up with a formula which we think this will provide equity. You know, not equality, but some form of equity. They say, no, we don't want it. You know why? Because money is going to Northeastern. Money is going to Maasai land. You know?
Who's
because
saying that?
It's a fact, boss.
Politicians. Politicians
No,
would say
you see,
that.
Yes, but because when you look at that equity, that formula, okay, and you look at the land size, they say, no. If you divide money based on the land size, we will not get money. More money will go to these other places which they have more land but fewer people. So now they want to come up with a new formula, and this is why we have continued to violate the law. They say, let's divide money from the center of the county to the service area. So if Nairobi City is here, and I can be able to get an ID up at the standard building, that's how you divide the money. So, but then in Narok, the land is big. We are 17,000 square kilometer. You cannot take the entire 17,000 kilometer because Kiambu is not 17,000 square kilometer. Nyeri is not 17,000.
Which is okay for, you know,
so
Senator,
so what I'm saying is
one
this.
of the reasons why the people of Narok elected you to go into the Senate is so that you can articulate the issues for them, right? Not just the Maasai people, but the
Kenya
people
in
around
general.
that and Kenya in general, right? So it's okay for you to actually do that. But now, when you raise these issues, but you take the tribal angle,
There's no tribal language.
and
there.
Actually, it comes out.
It comes out as there
though-
is.
You know what?
Yes.
And I think it's
or against, let's not even call it tribal, or people.
Eric,
people
no,
angle. Instead of
we have to
saying,
call it tribal
this
because
is a policy
it's
issue.
easier to understand. But there's something I wanted to read to the senator
Please.
that actually supports the things that he's trying to put forth. It's the freedom of movement and residence. It says Parliament shall not enact a law that permits the state or any person to arbitrarily deprive a person of property or any description or of any interest or right over any property of any description, or to limit or in any way restrict the enjoyment of any such right under the article on the basis of any of the grounds specified as contemplated in Article 27. Now, this is the clincher. The state shall not deprive a person of property of any description or of any interest or in right over property of any description unless the deprivation results from an acquisition of land or of an interest in land or a conversion of any interest in land or title deed to land in accordance with Chapter 5, or is a basic public purpose or in the public interest and is carried out in accordance with the Constitution. Meaning, the law even supports you.
In simple terms, it simply means follow the due process of the law.
Yes,
Yes.
but also,
But also-
when you are passing this message, we are telling you because we receive your message.
Yes.
What comes out is that you're anti-Kikuyu. What also comes out now is that you're anti-Kipsigis. Now, there is a messaging
Boss,
that
how
needs
can
to
you
be
be
clear.
anti-Njeri? How?
No.
That's how it's coming out.
It comes out
But
like
also,
that.
there are bits
Glad
of
you
that
laughed.
of what you've just read, City, that do not support what the senator is saying.
Like what?
Because the senator, for example,
Like
is
what?
saying that when you buy a piece of land in this particular region,
keep it under
then
agricultural use.
You should only.
But that's
keep it under
exactly what he
agricultural
said.
use.
Actually,
That's exactly what he's saying.
Eric, when I
it's-
say it supports, meaning you have legislation that points to as to how this thing ought
Land
to be
can be
handled.
used.
That's what I was
Yes,
saying.
yes.
Now-
but also, if somebody, wherever they've come from, whether they've come from North Coast or if they've come from Turkana,
doesn't matter where they
if
come
they've
from.
It doesn't
come
matter.
and I buy land in Narok, right? That law applies to them.
Yes, but there are restrictions that
The same
also
way-
are allowed.
The same way that the same law applies to the Maasai person.
Let me summarize this by
You
saying
cannot
this.
say that because
Eric.
I have come here and I've bought a piece of land, then I live in under secondary legislation.
No. Eric, let me
Because I've
put it.
bought
Let
this
me,
land.
let me summarize it this way. Maybe this can be able to clear the airwaves. Anyone is welcome to come to Narok and do business. Buy land. However, you must abide by the land use policy. Okay? The first thing you need to do is to find out the land that you're buying. Is the issue of subdividing allowed? Can you buy 1 acre and create 8 plots and bring more people?
Yep.
And we've got to consider all these other services. You know, there are areas which government is spending so much money, okay, like in towns, in urban centers.
Yep.
We need to come up with a spatial plan to be able to ensure that this area is zoned as follows. For Narok, around the CBD, it is for residential and commercial property. Outside the CBD or outside wherever, you can have 5 acres. Outside that, you can have 20 acres, 30 acres. And then maybe within those areas, there's like a small center which is reserved. And in fact, let me tell you, in the old county council regime, those councillors were extremely wise. They said, in fact, for me, I got my land through because I was a member of a group ranch. Okay? And that's why I keep insisting that this is original Maasai land.
Yep.
Because that's why I was given. That's why
community
someone
land.
else cannot come in and say, I belong to here or I
Yep.
buy that land. When we were subdividing the community land, we set aside an area for an urban center. The rest of the land, it was restricted to be strictly used for agricultural purposes, you know, for our livestock.
Yep.
But then, after several, different, during the devolution era, we all started violating that rule, where you have 20 acres of land, you then decide to subdivide the 20 acres of land to make plots and urban centers.
And people in authority
Okay,
were not
people
doing what
in
they were supposed to do
authority.
because
Let
the
me
law is clear.
let me tell you something. Even if the people in authority were not doing what is supposed to be done, even you yourself doing that which you know is wrong is also wrong.
Yes.
Okay, so both of you are wrong. So in this case, I think the most important thing that we must do here is, first of all, we need to educate our people that when you buy land in this area, you've got to, it is zoned in a certain way. Number two, we need to admit and be ready to face the truth so that we can be able to find a place where we can all meet in the middle and say, okay, Olekina, these are your recommendations for the BBI. These are, I keep forgetting your name.
Ndu.
Ndu.
Yeah.
Ndu.
I think we might have to go for coffee so that I know
Let's-
how
yeah,
to pronounce it. You know?
I'll take you through an hour of pronouncing it. Don't even worry
No
about
worry.
it.
So, Ndu, these are your propositions. You know, Muga, Eric, this is what you want to say. Can we all put them on the ground, on the table, and find a meeting ground?
So you're
You know?
okay then coexisting,
I have no problem with that.
because quite
I
a
have
number of
no
people
problem
feel
with
the
that.
opposite.
Because
I think it's an
if
opportunity
I
to
was
clear the
not-
air.
Let me tell you something. If you come to my home, I'm one of the biggest employers in Narok. Private person. I have Luos, I have Kisses, I have Kalenjins, I have Kambas, I have Luyas, I have, which other ethnic group? Turkanas, I have, everyone does what they're good at, So I love this. I love this diversity. But I just want us to respect each other.
But
That's
is it possible to
But
talk
you want them to
about...
lie low like an envelope.
Is it possible
There was
to talk
Eric,
about the
I'm
rights?
surprised you would say that. There's not even anything like low like an envelope. It's lie low like an antelope bwana. Unateremka tu chini hivi kidogo unakula
Like an
nyasi.
antelope.
Unakula nyasi tu kidogo. But you know what, I want to end by saying this.
Yes.
As long as I live, I will continue to pursue justice for my people. Because that is why they elected me.
And
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 for
you
me,
should.
I have, I said this before when I was on this show, that I am an extremist for freedom and liberty, and I am a radical for gentleness. You know that. You know that, Eric. The people who I work with, the people who I relate to, understand that. So call me a radical,
Whatever.
call me whatever, but it's for the good, not for the bad.
All right.
Good.
One day you'll come and eat some good meat, which is roasted by a Kikuyu in my home. And I have Maasai who roast meat. Just so that you see that I love each other. We love each other. Let's just respect
You
each
live
other.
in harmony.
We live in harmony, but we
Mheshimiwa,
must respect each other.
Your senatorship covers the natives of Narok, but it also covers those who have
I
become natives.
I agree.
But
Well,
you're-
they cannot become native. No, they
There's
can't.
the clincher.
They cannot become natives because, my
They're
friend,
visitors.
you're
Let's end this
either
interview.
black or white.
Asante sana, Senator Ledama Olekina, for joining us. We wish you all the best as you also have your meeting with the DCI.
No, that they cancelled it.
Oh, they cancelled
They
it.
chickened out.
All right.
Oh,
Because
they
it's the
chickened
truth.
out.
Because it's the truth.
They understood it's the truth. Asante sana. We wish you all the best.